Now we're joined by, on drive, should I say, by the chairman of Matchroom Sports, Eddie Hearn. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. How you doing, boys?
All good, thanks, Eddie. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. I'm out in Vegas.
Living a dream.
Early morning here. We got a big show on Saturday night at the Fontainebleau, new resort here in Manchester the week after.
Oh.
Then Barclays Centre, back to New York the week after for Haney Garcia. Then back to Liverpool the week after. Then I think Mexico.
How's the training going, Eddie, for yourself?
Taylor. Yeah, good. Trying. It's difficult being on the road. I was. The boys went carbone last night, and I actually went to the gym and had a liveroo salad. So it's a bit sad times mixed. You got to do what you got to do.
So Eddie, you said you're in Vegas now for the Richard Hitchens fight and it's Gustavo Lemos, I think it is. I mean, how easy was that fight to put together, and what are you expecting from that fight?
Yeah, this one's really about sort of our next generation of US fighters. Richardson Hitchens is sort of number 2, number 3 in the world at 140 pounds. He's fighting Lemos. I think it's 18-0 against 29-0. Diego Pacheco also co-main event. It's, our 140-pound division, obviously, which we'll come on to as well. We got Devin Haney. We got Subriel Matisse, the IBF world champion. We got Regis Prograis. We got Jack Cattrall. We got Richardson Hitchens. So Hitchens basically is the final eliminator for the world title. So he's kind of from that same amateur crop as Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney and all of that team. So very, very impressive young fighter.
Is that the pathway after that then, Eddie, to look down the Devin Haney
route?
Yeah,
basically. Yeah, he's really good. So sometimes in boxing, as you know, you get a very good fighter that struggles to get their opportunity at the champions because they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really strategically get them into the mandatory position to make sure that, you put it on the champion and say, you've got no choice. You've got to vacate the belt or you've got to fight this guy coming through. And if Hitchens wins on Saturday, he'll be mandatory for the world champion. So it'll get him his shot.
Well, just talking about vacating the belt, mate, you kind of teed me up lovely there for your friend Mr. Ben Shalom with what's been going on recently with... I worked the other day when we had Dalton in the studio, to be fair. So what do you want to fill the audience into what's been going on there?
Same thing, really. I mean, look, we all want to make the biggest fights possible and the best fights for British boxing. Adam Azim went and won the European Championship, I think, 3 fights ago, something like that. Dalton Smith, who's our guy from Sheffield, 140-pounder, we feel that he's obviously beyond European level, and that fight's been sort of culminating, getting a huge amount of interest from British fight fans. Obviously, the Azim team, the Sky Machine, are saying this kid's a world beater. They're calling out Keyshawn Davis to fight at Wembley. He's ready to fight for a world title, and then the European Boxing Union order him to fight Dalton Smith, which is fantastic. I mean, it just gives everybody a massive fight. But, I knew they wouldn't take it because Dalton's levels above Adam at the moment. And I think they've probably made the right decision. It's difficult in boxing when, our job is to hype a fighter. So, you're hyping Adam Azim like he's the new Sugar Ray Leonard, and he's not at that level yet, and he's not at Dalton's level. He's a really good young fighter.
No, he is,
Don't get me wrong. But it backfires on you when you say, I want to work with promoters, I want to make the big fights. This kid's ready for, this guy at Wembley Stadium. And then it gets put on your toes. And really, you got no choice because you don't want to get him beat. And that's sometimes the downside of boxing is that people are too worried about their
Yeah.
People are too worried about protecting fighters because they need them for their TV contract, And I've got a bit of a history of rolling the dice in for our fighters and big fights because our fighters are just they're a level beyond. So, to put it into your perspective, guys, Dalton Smith, he's a young Champions League kid, and these other fighters might just be sort of trying to get into the championship. So we're always ready to back our guys against them. But, on this occasion, and there's been a few, in the past, but you see the politics of boxing, really. Obviously, everybody works on different platforms. Some people are afraid to get their fighters in tough fights to get beat. Some people don't work together. I mean, look at me and Frank Warren. It took us 15 years to work together. Now we're absolutely having it off.
Well, do you know, Eddie? Speaking of obviously promoters, I mean, Ben Shalom, he joined White and Jordan earlier, and he had a message for you. So have a listen to this.
I think he knows what he's doing because he's a smart guy and he's a boxing promoter himself. And when you've got in our position, he would do exactly the same thing because I hope he would. What I would look at is Jordan Thompson, who was slung in against Jai Opataya, and I don't like to throw stones, but what's that done for his career? You know, you can talk about giving fighters opportunities. He hasn't even fought at English title level yet, and I will not cash out, even though it might be beneficial for me from a financial point of view. Someone that's believed in me, someone that's been with me from debut, early on in the career, we're not going to cash them out for something that's not in their interest. Dalton Smith against Adam Azim, just like Wardley Clark will be one of the biggest fights in British boxing, and it will sell out an arena and possibly be pay-per-view, and they'll earn 5 or 6 times the amount they would earn in the next fight. And I think that's it. Sorry, what's the message to Eddie? Let's sit down, let's make some fights.
So Eddie, you heard what Ben Strom, the CEO of Boxer, had to say. I mean, what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, firstly, despite the oxygen they pump in these rooms in Vegas, I fell asleep. No, look, seriously, I think, firstly, it's all smoke and mirrors, isn't it? There's been 5 fights that have been ordered between Sky and Matchroom. Okay?
Yeah.
One, of course, was Wardley Clark. That was actually ordered a year ago. And to be fair, played out okay. Smith against Azim, they pulled out of that one. Richard Riakporhe against our world champion Jai Opataya, that was ordered. They pulled out of that one. Beatrice Ferreira, our fantastic female fighter, against Caroline Dubois. They pulled out of that one. They've also got Chev Clark against Isaac Chamberlain, which they're not really talking about. So, look, you can say in interviews, let's all sit down and work together. At the end of the day, we all want to win. I think Ben's right. Ben really laid it out perfectly. I don't want to cash out Adam Azim to Dalton Smith. What that means is Adam Azim can't beat Dalton Smith in a month of Sundays. Correct. That's it. And I don't blame him for making the decision. He has to protect his fighter. He has to protect their record. He has to protect his career. And he has to protect him from himself. Because fighters will fight anyone. And Adam Azim is many levels below Dalton Smith. And I just was pushing the fight because I fancy it. I mean, one, I want to sell out a massive stadium and give British fight fans a massive domestic fight, but 2, I know I can't lose. So yeah, of course I want to fight.
Eddie.
And if I had the B side that couldn't win, I'd probably be more reluctant to do it. So
Eddie, just a quick one from me, mate, because I'm getting producer from here because of the time, and I could talk to you all day. Talk about protecting your fighters, and just a personal one from me. What's the situation with Conor Benn at the moment? How is that going? And obviously, there's been a little bit of legal stuff happening, but can you shed a bit of light on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because obviously we're bound from confidentiality of a legal case, which is ongoing. That's why you haven't heard from Conor, you haven't heard from the British Boxing Board of Control, and we hope that a resolution is very close and imminent. So it's been nearly 2 years that Conor Benn failed a test. And to be honest with you, like I look at other situations with high-profile fighters who have failed tests and, 3 or 4 months, they're back fighting. And I don't think Conor's played it great because he's an emotional kid and he's done a lot of it on his own and he's wanted to really protest his innocence. And we are where we are. Life is life. But we hope now that the end is near and we can see Conor Benn back because he's raring to go. And, we've got massive stadium fights planned this year in the UK. And we want him to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Eddie, thanks for joining us, mate. Enjoy Vegas.
Cheers, boys. Take care.
Top man. See you soon.
Top man.